Think about your friend group for a second. You probably know someone who talks a massive game, the person who constantly promises they'll always be there for you. Now, picture that quiet friend who doesn't say much at all, but actually shows up with their notes when you're sick and miss class. Take a moment to ask yourself, which of those two people actually proved they care about you? Human behavior doesn't change much over time. The poet Charles Swain watched this exact same social dynamic play out in the 19th century, and he sat down to write about it. Swain channeled his frustration into a poem called Words, which we're studying today as part of the Class 9 syllabus. He was looking for a way to measure the weight of the things people say, specifically when they speak abundantly but mean very little. By breaking down his metaphors, we can see the specific patterns Swain uses to separate a host of empty words from a single genuine act of support. Let's look at this diagram to understand Swain's very first metaphor. He compares empty words to summer birds. Both are incredibly pleasant to be around when the skies are clear, but the second a storm hits, they fly away. Watch what happens when we swap the weather for everyday school life. The sunny days are the weekend parties and group chats. The storm is heavy exam prep or a personal crisis. That talkative friend disappears the exact minute the hard work begins. This brings us to stanza 2. Swain writes that when a weary heart actually needs support, all those empty promises feel entirely useless. He compares them to weeds in a garden. They take up space, but they don't offer any nourishment. When someone's words lack real commitment, they fail to comfort you. Instead, you are left feeling completely abandoned, holding on to nothing but what Swain calls empty air. This visualization shows the difference perfectly. Over on the left, we see dozens of fancy words bouncing off a logical brain. They sound impressive, but they do nothing. On the right, a single glowing word successfully sinks straight into the heart. Swain noticed that the person who brings the most comfort and cheer to a lonely home is usually the person who says the absolute least. Their presence does the heavy lifting. To drive this point home, Swain uses his final and most powerful visual metaphor in stanzas 7 and 8. He describes a plant making a gaudy show. Let's watch this plant in motion. It rapidly grows massive, bright flowers down to its roots. But look closely at the branches. Despite all that aggressive blooming, it completely fails to produce a single piece of fruit. That flashy plant represents people who use incredibly impressive vocabulary. They make a massive show of how much they care, but they never follow through with any real-world support. No fruit is ever produced. A plant's true value is found in the fruit it provides to others, not the flowers it displays. A person's true worth is proven by the actions they take, not the vocabulary they use. When you apply Swain's logic to your daily life, it acts as a filter. It helps you prioritize the quiet friend who shows up over the loud friend who disappears. Quality always defeats quantity. To wrap this up, let's look at how to structure these themes for your written exam answers. The first major theme centers on the idea that words remain meaningless unless they are backed by genuine feeling and tangible action. Next, you'll need to recall the 3 specific metaphors Swain uses to criticize empty words. That's the useless weeds, summer birds fleeing a storm, and flashy plants without fruit. Because we've analyzed the evidence behind these metaphors, you can explain them clearly in your own words, while also using them to evaluate the friendships in your own life. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. Which stanza of this poem is your favorite and why? Keep observing the world around you. Keep studying.